So how did your wilderness season go?
Great. Well, actually, it is good. In
Yeah,
retrospect,
right.
it's
Yeah.
like the worst season of your life in some ways that you thank God for,
Mm-hmm.
that you came through it and you saw Him faithful through it. But it wasn't pretty or fun going through it. Just to give you a snapshot of what one of my days looked like in that like 3 year time
Mm-hmm.
period, I was at home in a small house by myself with a baby and a toddler. My vehicle was broken down, so I didn't have transportation. A lot of times my phone would get shut off. We switched to flip phones, like old phones, because it was cheaper. We couldn't afford iPhones or like a plan and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times that was shut off, so I couldn't really get a hold of anyone. Barely had much food in the cabinets or the fridge to eat or feed the kids. It was just very isolating.
Sure, you were proud to tell all your friends of all that
Oh,
you were
yeah.
up to.
Yeah, come on by. It's great over here. I remember one day I was opening the cabinets and like we had this sort of infestation of cockroaches, wood cockroaches, like the little ones
To
that
the
go
worst.
everywhere and proliferate. And we couldn't afford to probably even buy a spray bottle of like stuff to kill it ourselves, much less have the Orkin man come out. It was tough. And it wasn't just the physical stuff, like spiritually, I didn't understand why it had to get this bad. And I had grown up in foster care and had a lot of trauma in my background. And I was going through postpartum depression with the kids. And so there was all this like emotional, mental health stuff going on. And then the physical lack. I mean, it was a pressing season where I really got to the end of myself. And I think we all have to get to that point in some way. It might be financial, it might be relational, it might be a physical ailment, but it's almost like we get to these places where we don't have the answers. We can't do it in our own strength. We have to rely on Him, and it's either God does it or it doesn't happen. And
I think,
He
yeah.
brought us through, but it wasn't fun.
Well, what's maddening is you don't know what is going on because here you are. All you know is the last thing you can remember.
I want more of you,
I
God.
want is a prayer is that you prayed what I call the most dangerous prayer, which at the time seemed like the best prayer, which is I want more of you, God. Here you are, you're falling in love with Jesus, you're going to church, you're in small groups, you're tithing, you're doing everything right, and God feels near to you. You're on fire. You listen to worship music, like right, like you're doing everything right, and
You're
you
on
pray
top of the
that
mountain.
you're on
There's a
top of the
valley down
mountain,
there, though.
right? And so next, they should ask you to teach Bible studies and preach in the on the pulpit, and they should have blah 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 all these accolades you think you should get for doing everything right, and then what happens next is your life falls apart.
Yeah. And think
And
about Jesus. I mean, the sky opens up, the dove descends. He says, "This is my son in whom I'm well pleased." Like the call was very obvious to everyone. And then where does He quickly take him? To the wilderness.
right now he
So,
gets through in 40 days for a different reason,
yeah, it
but
was perfect. But
the it's maddening because you're doing what you feel like is everything right. But here's what you don't know: you're not as ready as you thought you were. We're going back to law of preparation here. It has to get this ugly, and it's not that it has to get ugly. It's that He's that committed to preparing you. It gets ugly because you fight the process. That's why this is hard. It's hard and it goes on forever because you're resisting the change that He's trying to go do in your life.
yeah,
And the
maybe you're
more,
blaming God or blaming other people for the circumstances
or you
rather than
won't,
asking,
you
what are
won't
you
let
trying to
go
show
of your
me?
bad habits. You don't let go of your bad behavior. Because remember, He's got to take you out of Egypt and then take Egypt out of you. And a lot of people are living this half in, half out lifestyle, half in Egypt, half in the
Yeah.
wilderness. And it's miserable both sides, but they're never committing to the process. And so let's just describe what Egypt's about so that you understand why the wilderness is so important. Because,
Yeah.
like you said, it is important and it is, you thank God for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because now that you understand why, what its purpose is, Egypt this is all spiritual representation, right? But Egypt represents this, it's the world system where it's all about getting a man's approval.
Yeah.
Do it the world's way. Get someone to say you're valuable. It's like finding
Climb
your
the
value
ladder.
from the outside. Climb the ladder. Get the accolades. Impress someone so they'll give you a contract or they'll give you money. That is what Egypt. That's how you prosper in Egypt.
Yeah. Man's way. Not
Man's
God's
way.
So we might have been doing everything right, man's way, by the book, but we asked God to show us more of him. So he's like, okay, well, if you want more of me, I have to do a process and a work in you.
Or maybe God has said, I'm got great plans for your life.
Yeah.
I'm going to prosper you. Right? I'm going to take you places that you can go on your own. And really here's the thing. What's maddening is you ask God for something you feel like is very biblical or he's already promised you, and you wonder why you didn't get it. And based on the law of preparation, you are getting it. You asked for something you're not ready for. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. But because if you were already ready for it, you'd already have it.
Yeah.
Right? And so in order for God to answer your prayer, in order for you to progress in your seasons, you've got to become prepared for it.
Yeah.
And so
we can't prescribe what preparation
No.
we need. We don't really know all that we need. He does.
Right. And so when you get that first initial cycle going from Egypt on your way to your promised land, right, a lot of it is some really heavy heart work where you're getting rewired as an individual. Your identity, my identity was wrapped up in our first business. I was finding approval of men through construction contracts, right? And so it was all about getting someone to approve of me, which is, think about this. Of course, the wilderness was a season of humiliation where no one approved of me. I mean, it was ugly, right? I remember when we first step out, God works signs, miracles, and wonders, right? Stories that I've told on TikTok, some for another day, but I mean, he was doing things we didn't know God still did. He was proving himself to be a provider for us, right? Money showing up out of nowhere, food showing up out of nowhere, checks getting dropped off. Like, it was amazing, right? And I remember friends, those first few weeks, everybody was super excited. Oh my gosh, God is up to something. It's amazing, right?
And then it was like,
And then, yeah, people ducked you. People saying, I don't know about this. I don't know what's going on with you.
like God.
That can't be
you
God.
sure you're hearing God right?
Right. Like getting invited to coffee only to show up and it's an intervention. Having people who wouldn't pray for you, they just want to tell you where you're screwing up. And I mean, I wasn't proud. I mean, at that point, we were just trying to get more of God, right? We just knew that he was with us. Now, here's the juxtaposition now. In this season, you are falling out of favor with man completely. But you are getting in line with God. Mm-hmm. And don't be surprised if this is the season that you are the closest with him.
Yeah.
That you hear them the clearest.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has just ripped you out of everything you had identity in. And he has to do that. Mm-hmm. Because what he wants for you and what you want for yourself is this new place where you're free. Mm-hmm. Where you're not begging, you're creating. Yeah. We're not getting someone else's approval. You've already have the approval. And so you're giving approval. You're blessing other people. Mm-hmm. You're motivated by how you can serve other people and bless them than how you can take from them. Mm-hmm. But you're not ready for that. And you don't even know you're not ready for that. And so the wilderness is the most important season of anyone's going to do great, and especially great in the kingdom. You're going to have to go through it. And I'm weary of anybody I met who can't tell me of some serious wilderness they've been through because I know you haven't been tested yet.
Mm-hmm. It's like cruise ship mentality versus worship mentality. You know, you can almost tell by the things people are concerned about or complain about, whether they're on a warship or a cruise ship.
That's right.
It's like, oh, my coffee was a little cold from Starbucks. And
my drinks are warm.
Yeah, complaints.
Food's not hot.
Now it's like, I'm thankful that I have food. You know, like you get, it's just a different level that's created in you. And
I mean, eventually, the point is God has got back to it. You know, the law of preparation states that you can't progress past your preparation. That in order for him to promote you, he's got to prepare you. Mm-hmm. And so there's a couple key scriptures. One's 1 Peter 5, 6 through 10, but really we'll just hone in on James chapter 1, 2 through 4, right? And we've all heard this. It says, count it all joy, brethren, When you face various trials and tribulations, so the testing of your faith produces patience. And let patience have her perfect work so that you'll be perfect, complete, and lacking in nothing. So what is God up to in your life?
Making you perfect, complete, and lacking.
He wants you perfect, complete, and lacking nothing. How is he going to get you there? Patience through trials and tribulations. Is it that he wants trials for your life? No, it's that he wants you to prosper, the result. And he's got to prepare you first because it's the law of his creation. Why he decided to do that, you'll have to ask the Lord. But this is how it is. So you can fight it and bang your head up against the wall and be stuck in your wilderness for a really long time. Or you can embrace this law and understand, like, I'm here for a very important reason. I'm not here because I'm in trouble. I'm not here because I'm being judged. I'm here because he wants to answer my prayer.
Yeah.
And he is preparing me for greater things. And I've got to stop trying to do Egyptian things in the wilderness because I will not beg my way into the promised land.
I just had a thought. So a big thing that he was taking out of me in our wilderness season, or at least that big one, was the orphan spirit and a victim mentality and a scarcity mindset. You know, all these kind of go together. And so in Egypt, if you're a slave and you do something wrong, you're not going to own up to it because who knows what's going to happen to you, but you blame the other guy. It was actually him that did it. And then you kind of get promoted because you're the one calling out other people and keeping an eye on people for the big boss or whatever. So it was like, that doesn't work in the wilderness. Like he takes it out of you where you stop blame. So if you're blaming other people for your problems, if you're still blaming that person you haven't forgiven that wronged you, or you're fighting your husband and saying, well, you got us in this mess, or, you know, whatever it is, he's trying to take these things out of us that don't belong, these old ways of coping, these old ways of being, that victim mentality, that orphan spirit. You can't take those into the promised land. And so whatever it takes for that to get out of you and for you to get to the point where you want to give it over to him, that's what that process is for. And so sometimes you do have to go through things you feel like you've already I thought I already overcame this because I'm a believer in Christ now, I'm an overcomer. But it's that sanctification process. It's that purification process where he's taking Egypt out of us so that we actually can enter the promised land and fight the giants.
Yeah. So really quick, before we talk about more of the purpose of it, like, what did you do to make it through the wilderness? You know, it's a trying place, but like, what advice? You can't. It's out of your control. Okay, the only way you speed it up is just by embracing the process. But you don't get a countdown. You know, I can't tell you how many more steps are in front of you. It's not that it's like it's a 100-yard field and you just get across it, right? You don't know. What only God knows the condition of your heart, right? But when you embrace the process, things begin to move, right? But there's still this period of time of like no man's land. How did you get through, and what did you do wrong that if you could give yourself advice, you would have said, hey, you should try this other way?
Well, one thing I did was pray a lot, because you're trying to walk in lockstep with the Lord and understand, okay, what's the next step? Because I don't even know where I am. I'm lost out here. So you're following him. One thing I didn't do, or that I did that I shouldn't have, was blaming you, fighting you, instead of realizing that we had the same enemy and that we had the same goal and we were on the same path. And so praying more together. We did pray quite a bit together, but really not looking at each other as the problem would have been more helpful. And then just basic things like if I was feeling really overwhelmed and anxious in the house with all the kids and the pressures, I'm like, okay, we're going to go on a walk around the neighborhood. We're going to get some fresh air. We're going to go look at the neighbors' pretty flowers. We're going to do something to get out of my mindset.
Yeah. I know for me, I paced the floor way too much. I felt like it was like the Da Vinci Code. If I could just crack this magical formula, everything would be over.
There'll be a portal that opens.
Yes, no, seriously.
Money will fall out of the sky and we'll be done with this.
The door will be, it's like God, I believe in, you can do anything. And I just felt like if I could piece these scriptures together right, that's not how it worked. I was looking on the outside for something that was going on the inside. So that didn't work. I probably prayed too much because I wasn't praying in faith half the time. I was praying out of worry, and that wasn't helping anything. I probably should have had more fun
With the kids, especially.
with the
I feel
kids.
like we didn't have the joy with them that we should have.
Should have taken more walks. Should have taken more naps. Right? Should have taken the pressure off myself. I'll say this: I know that I made it harder on us when when I wouldn't humble myself. We had a couple periods of time where we were instructed not to work, and God provided in miraculous ways. And one time that was over, and I wanted God just to keep providing for me, and I just wanted out, right? And so God was sending opportunities that were very humble. And I would say, well, I don't know if I feel led. I don't know if this is what God is doing.
Spiritualize it, over spiritualize
I was over spiritualizing it because I wanted this thing to be over. And I felt like for this to be over, then they're going to give me my own stage, platform, podcast, whatever, right? Because I
roll out the red carpet
instead
of like
carpet
pulling
for
the rug
me.
out from under.
Correct. And so there was opportunities that people would call, and they had carpentry jobs that were just small projects that were going to make a few $100s here and there, and I'd turn them down.
And you're like, well, I'm a general contractor.
Yeah, I've had my own business.
I don't need to swing a hammer anymore. Well, you would have gotten paid to do it.
I would have gotten paid, and I made it worse because I over spiritualized it, and I really wasn't honest about where I was in this journey. Mm-hmm. I thought I was ready to ascend, and I was still in this preparation period, and so I made it worse on us. And the power got turned off, the water got turned off because of my pride. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were learning. God kept us, but at the same time, I made it worse because of that. So, anyways, I would say
you're not going to do everything right.
You're not
in the wilderness. I mean, it's a very confusing time. You're trying to figure out how to follow the Lord, how to be in unity with your spouse if you're married, how to parent, you're learning a lot as you're being dismantled. So you're not going to do everything right. That's why it's so important to have grace for one another in that season too.
Yeah. So one thing I want us, I think we kind of understand, and people can resonate from that wilderness period. Most likely everybody's found themselves in one. Now, some people run back to Egypt, let's be honest, right? They found that comfort there. Mm-hmm. And some people are kind of lost in the wilderness. Some people are further along than they know, and some people are not as far along as they want to admit, right? Mm-hmm. But the point of it is you're becoming. And you're becoming someone new. And you need to let go of the old things so you can embrace new ways. And you're going to have to let go of pride. You're going to have to let go of bitterness.
Fear.
You're going to have to let go of fear. You're going to have to begin to trust Him. And you're going to have to allow Him to make you new. It says about the generation that He was going to allow to go in. They didn't know the difference between good and evil. Yeah. Right? They had childlike faith where they were just dependent on Him, right? And He's got great plans for your life. And here's the thing. The things you learn in the wilderness, your life will not stay like that forever. Eventually, when you go into the promised land, it's a completely different way of living.
But the same lessons
apply. Yeah. And I want to add this about this law of preparation and the wilderness. There are kingdom laws that you're probably studying and learning in the Bible, and they're not working in your life. And it's not because they're not law. It's because this senior law is at play, and you're trying to do promised land things in the wilderness. And you can't plant promised land seeds that belong in fertile soil in dry, rocky ground.
Yeah.
And so
seasonal.
It's seasonal. And so you are not your heart isn't in the right place to reap the benefits of some of those things. You're canceling out the good you're trying to do with kingdom law and doing things the Bible says because of your lack of faith, because of your Egyptian and wilderness ways. It doesn't mean they're not true. So that's important to really know. Yeah. So, but here's what I want you to take away. I want people also to see this as a pattern, because you're going to get out of the wilderness one day. The promised land will present itself, but you're going to experience this multiple times. And for us, it hasn't been as extreme as that 3-year period, but we've had wilderness. 2025 was a preparation period. We wouldn't call it a wilderness. I mean, we made more money than 2024, but the things that we felt like we were preparing to do didn't go anywhere. I was mad. I was kind of frustrated that I had the same goals in 2026 as 2025, but I realized that God was preparing us.
Yeah. I had a health, after we had this extreme, I would say financial, primarily wilderness, I had a health crisis in 2021 where I got really sick for 9 months and felt like I was dying from a tick bite. It got really bad. And so, but I had seen him come through, and he was faithful to bring us through that other wilderness season. So that gave me faith in that season that, like, I don't know how, but I'm going to make it through this because, he provided Jehovah Jireh. He's also Jehovah Rapha. You start understanding the names of God by the things that you go through, and he proves himself to you. So yeah, it could be relational, health, financial, all of the above.
And every time you go into this, what you need to know is God is upgrading you. It's an upgrade.
Yeah, faith to faith.
He just
glory
has to make room for the upgrade. You've got to get rid of the things in the way so that you can receive the new things. Yeah. And so, what you're going to know is there's multiple times in this journey where you get to the spot where you're like, we're going up there, we're going up the mountain, and your life takes a turn and you enter the spiral and it starts to go bad. And you're like, what in the world is going on here? Everything was going right. No, you're wanting to press into something you're not prepared for. Okay? And that's okay. You should. You will always be trying to press into something eventually that you're not prepared for. And so when things don't go right, you don't curse God, you don't curse yourself, you don't blame anybody, you don't go backwards. You realize, okay, there's something that's got to get prepared.
And you don't blame it all on the devil and say,
No.
well, this is just the devil attacking me. Well, he is. I mean, he's always going to try to prevent you from moving to the next level, but it could be God. God's doing this so that you can become the next level.
And you can't blame the devil for your own character flaw. Sometimes we're in our own way. Okay, we might be spiritually attacked, but the thing is, like, the higher you go, the more pure, sanctified you get, the less hooks the devil has in you. Jesus told Peter, so the devil can't get to me because he has nothing in me.
Yeah.
And so you'll notice people that go up, they're not plagued by the same things. They don't have the same spiritual attack because every time you go through a wilderness or a cocoon or spiritual preparation period, you're shedding old skin.
Yeah,
you're letting go of those old ways that the flesh that the devil could get onto, right? And you're being sanctified. Glory, faith to faith, glory to glory. And so when you enter into preparation, thank God. You're going to feel like it's a delay, but the reality is he's given you what you need to go to this next level. And so as much as the preparation is a law, so is the promotion. If you embrace this process, the promotion becomes a law. It's what comes next because the preparation becomes the roots for the fruit that will be produced through the promotion. Mm-hmm. So it's a law. It's a blueprint. It's a pattern. Mm-hmm. It's something to be embraced. And when you do, I guarantee things move forward faster when you embrace this because you stop fighting against what God is doing in your life. Yeah. Because he's really trying to take weight off of you. The things that he wants to take from you is because it's weight that's preventing you from moving forward. And so if you're fighting against him, you're going to lose. You're going to be stuck fighting, and you won't move forward until you let go of that weight, whatever that is, whether it's a relationship or it's an old way of being, it's old things you do, an old job, whatever. They're just things in the way that God's like, hey, I've got other plans.
Yep.
Let go, and let's move forward.
Yep. And I think, in the world, in Egypt, it's like you're climbing this ladder to nowhere, but in God's kingdom, you're following a spiral to somewhere, which is the promised land, which is becoming Christ, looking like Christ. I mean, ultimately, that's the goal. We talk about the promised land and the callings on our lives and all that, but ultimately it's about becoming Christ.
That's right. The Bible says, Paul writes, Romans 8, those he foreknew, he predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son. What's God up to in your life? Conforming you to the image of Christ.
Yep. And I just thought of that story about the silversmith where, like, people ask, well, how does a silversmith know that the thing that he's trying to purify is done? Because we ask, like, how long is this wilderness season going to last? We want a chronological number, but like we said, it's not a chronological thing. It's when the unbelief is gone. And so I've heard this analogy where the silversmith says, well, I hold it in the fire and I know it's done when I look into it and I can see my own image, that it's clear, then I know that process is done. And it's like in this wilderness season, in this process, when Christ can look at us and he sees his image in us, we're done. We're ready to be pulled out of that fire, and we're stronger for it.
I love it. Mm-hmm. Good conversation. Mm-hmm. See you next time.